go ahead and kick things off with Summer Game Fest. First off, it's way too long. I'm sorry, way too long.
Way too long. Way too long for us because there wasn't enough stuff that we're interested in.
Yeah.
I mean, the pacing just felt weird compared to previous years, and me personally, at least watching through live. Because I'm be honest, I tuned in late to it during the whole Kojima segment, and I'm be honest, I turned it on, saw whatever was happening with Death Stranding 2, and went, yeah, I'll come back to this. I completely closed the tab and went and did something for several minutes, came back. They were still finishing up Kojima. I was like, all right.
Because we basically started off with, like, Keeley went through, like, the top 10 selling games by units.
Yep.
On, I think it was just
Steam,
on Steam.
It was just on Steam.
Yeah, on Steam. And then because he wanted to acknowledge that half of the games were, like, solo or small team independent developers. So he wanted to shout that out. So it's like we started with that, then we led into the Kojima segment pretty much almost right away. So it's like the first 20 minutes of the showcase, we didn't really see anything.
Yeah, like let's see.
Which is standard.
Yeah, it was so we got the top 10 selling games and kind of highlighting all that stuff, and then we went into like Mortal Shell 2. And then it was the quick Fortnite Star Wars Death Star event. And then it was the Death Stranding 2, which was obviously, the Kojima moment. They didn't kiss on stage, so that was disappointing. But, it's just the big Kojima segment that we're going to expect at any Jeff Keighley event. But
yeah, it was basically Death Stranding 2 is still going to happen. It's coming out soon. And Kojima's going to do his own showcase to show you more about it. But we're going to stand here for another probably 7 minutes.
Right.
With the arts for your two characters.
Yeah, those are like two new characters that were introduced.
As far as I'm aware, and that's what he made it sound like.
Yep. But hey, shout out to Mortal Shell 2, though. Shout out to that. I mean,
I missed that. What the heck is that?
Mortal Shell, it's I think it's kind of a Souls game.
Yeah.
Or a Souls-like game.
More or less.
With its own...
It's been on Game Pass for a while.
It's got its own, like, kind of gritty, similar to Dark Souls, but its own gritty art style that it kind of goes with.
Okay.
I've heard about it before. Forgot there was... I think we'd heard there was a second game coming before. I don't think it was a world premiere.
Yeah, no. I mean, at one point, I had Mortal Shell like downloaded to my Xbox via Game Pass. Didn't end up playing it, but it's one that's like been on my radar for at least a couple of years. It's like, oh, that looks kind of cool. So when I saw, like, I didn't know, obviously not playing it, I didn't know what was being shown at first. But once it popped Mortal Shell 2, I'm like, oh wow, I got a sequel. I mean, shout out to that, I guess. I didn't think it would. Just like Code Vein, I didn't know Code Vein would get a sequel.
I'm going to be honest, that trailer started, and I was like, oh, Code Vein. And then I was just watching and going, this is too anime. Maybe it's not Code Vein.
Like when that popped up, Code Vein 2, I was just like, wow, I didn't think that was gonna get that. Like, it's one of those, like, it's got its cult following, kind of like Scarlet Nexus, but it's just one of those that I just didn't think sold well enough where Bandai would have been willing to do a second game. Kind of like I don't think there will probably be a Scarlet Nexus 2, for example.
You never know.
Yeah, you never know. Especially I've seen Code Vein 2, right? You never know which Code Vein. That's like, that basically anime Souls is essentially what Code Vein is.
With a mix of weird. Not vampires, but maybe vampires.
Right. But
I was gonna ask of everything that came out in the Summer Game Fest. It's like, instead of just running through everything real quick, what was there anything that was like your thing that came out that you were excited about?
You gotta ask that.
Yeah, I'm still gonna ask it, Zach. We probably know. This is more of a. We could talk about the cool things to us.
Yeah, right. I know Zach's is going to be Stranger Than Heaven.
That's where you're wrong.
Oh, it's not?
It's Scott Pilgrim EX.
Oh, fair. Yeah, that's fair. By the original devs, too. Shout out to Scott Pilgrim EX. Yeah, that's fair. You threw a curveball on me on that one. So, John, answer your question for me. There's nothing out of Summer Game Fest that just got me, like, out of my seat pumped. But there are games that, like, okay, yeah, I'm interested in checking that out. Like, what would be my biggest one? Honestly, potentially Stranger Than Heaven. Now that I got to see a little bit more, I've said here on the show, like, I've wanted to play the Yakuza games. It's something I've really wanted to get into, and I know this is not Yakuza new IP, but like this is like a fresh start for me. You know what I mean? Going into Yakuza, like we talked about this last week when you weren't here. Like I feel like if I want to get into Yakuza, I want to get into Yakuza. Right?
Okay.
I want to go to Yakuza 0, kind of work my way through the series.
Okay.
So like this being, RGG, new IP, it's kind of a fresh start for me as someone that's never played RGG games. So getting to see like a full extended look on it looks fun. Looks like a lot of fun.
I want to start with Stranger Than Heaven.
I mean, it's a new IP.
Fresh
start.
It is a new IP, but it's going to be just looking at it based on the trailer. I would assume Stranger Than Heaven might have a little bit. It's going to be much more fleshed out. It looks like, especially since it's in their own new engine,
Right.
and just the like sort of the dynamic sequences and sort of like the fight sequences and whatnot in terms of like how apparently you can take enemies to the ground or they can take you to the ground, and more use of possible environments in terms of actually like flipping someone off a bridge versus that's not a thing in Yakuza. You can pick something that's on the street and bash someone's head over with it, but you're not like throwing them through windows or anything unless it's a scripted thing already. Versus where it looks like in Stranger Than Heaven, this is going to be a part of the new system where you're maybe possible like in the middle of a fight, throw someone through one of the sliding screen doors, and if you're fighting on the street, throw them through a stall, flip them off the bridge, that's stuff like that. And so, I mean, the fighting system looks like it's going to be, based on the trailer, show very clean and probably a bit more, slightly more in depth in terms of player usability.
Right.
Overall, it did seem like the fighting system was an older style Yakuza style, though. So
nice. Yeah, no, that was one that stood out to me.
I was gonna say I would just assume that he wants to get into Yakuza, but it's not gonna happen, so he's just gonna play the new game instead.
Here's where you start, Alex.
Yeah. Start off with the game that he shot out for Gamestead Game of the Week that he called was trash. Yakuza Dead Souls.
Start at the bottom.
Yeah, start at the real bottom. Okay, buddy. You got a PS3 I can borrow?
Yeah, actually.
All right, perfect. Hit me up, brother. I will say that Axe of Blood game looked pretty cool as well. Like the Sifu looking like beat 'em up game.
That does seem interesting. The only thing with it that seemed weird to me is it seemed like it was still good, and I would be very much interested in playing a tech demo of it.
Right.
But it seemed slightly clunkier to me, which is sort of bad just because it's going to be compared to Sifu, in which it just seems slightly clunkier than Sifu's fluidity.
Well, I think it probably looks slightly clunkier because
the art style.
It was like partly the art style, but also there was a larger emphasis shown in this trailer of being able to like have like shotguns, assault rifles, stuff like that you take away from the enemies, and it seems like they tried to balance between those.
Gotcha.
Sifu is more of just the martial arts.
Yeah, which that would make sense, I guess, because I'm going to be honest. As we mentioned, this was long, and at some point I did slightly check out, and it was this video player was just in a screen while I was messing with Zenless stuff.
That's fair. What about you?
I mean, the thing I was looking forward to the most, or the thing probably that I came out of it the most excited about, was the Arc Raiders release date.
Oh yeah,
I was hoping.
It's 10:30, right?
Yeah, I was kind of hoping it was gonna be, a shadow drop, but we got a different shadow drop.
Yeah.
Plaza P.
But I mean, Arc Raiders I've heard a lot about it. I've looked into it a little bit. It's a game that I'm probably gonna play. So I'm glad to know when it's coming out there. The other thing is kind of random. The one that I kind of got excited about, the Cube.
Oh,
really?
By Atomic Art.
I hated Atomic Art.
That's why I'm confused by that.
You were very anti-Atomic Art.
You gotta understand. You gotta understand though. This is gonna be probably a shitty MMO type game that I can play for 3 months.
It's an MMO, but still,
that's up John's alley.
This is gonna be a shitty MMO for me to play for 3 months.
Yeah, that's John's MO over here.
I saw it. I'm looking at it. I'm like, this looks so stupid, but I'll absolutely play this.
The thought creeped into my brain afterwards when they said MMO. I'm like, I wonder if John's gonna play
I'll play it 100%. Like they started showing Atomic Heart 2. I will say Atomic Heart 2 looked better than the first game.
It does look a lot better.
I did not. I hated the first game.
The first game's a bit rough, which they slightly addressed that when they were opening with how they presented it, and which the trailer for Atomic Heart 2 seemed very much more fun versus all the Atomic Heart trailers seemed very atmospheric for what the story they were trying to tell,
Mhm.
in which that fit the game. It was what it was. I mean, you either liked it or you didn't. Um, Whereas Atomic Heart 2 seems it's very much, as they mentioned, it looks much more open. Seems like it's going to be more entertaining. Um, it does sort of seem like it might be a slight continuation from Atomic Heart, from what it seemed, because that was still your same character from the first one. They just never showed his face. It seemed like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, Atomic Heart 2 looked better than the first one. I don't know that I'd be all excited about that one, but the cube
cube's up
the
your
cube
alley.
is the type of game that speaks to like a short 3-month stint for me.
Yeah.
So it's like I got excited about that because I'm like, there's 3-4 months of good playtime right there.
Yep. Also, just shout out to Munfish in general, because they had Atomic Heart 2, the Cube right after that, and then later on in the show, I don't remember which game it was, but they're also publishing another game like later on in the show as well. Maybe not developing it, but like I saw that like deep into the show, Munfish popped back up again. I'm like, God bless, you guys are all over the show today, Lord.
Also, just wanted to shout out the Splitgate 2 guy.
Oh yeah.
Just not doing it as well, but I mean, calling out the FPS genre in general for everybody making basically the same game.
Yeah, with different skins.
Yeah, but dude, the reception from that has been so funny, because it's like everyone's like comes up here, calls out the FPS genre, drops a battle royale. Basically, is what people have said.
Yeah, but it's one of those where it's like Splitgate has its community, and like Splitgate 2, they were able to make Splitgate 2 because people wanted Splitgate, but they wanted it to be more refined.
Mm-hmm.
So they just like made another game.
Right.
To be able to do that. And I haven't played Splitgate 2, but like from Splitgate, the game's fun. I mean, the game is it's got its own unique twist with the portals and that. The big thing, I mean, the main thing with it is level design for a game like that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's, I don't know, the BR aspect of it. I would hope they have a more interesting looking map than what they showed us.
Right.
I'd hope so for Portals.
Yeah.
But yeah, the thing is, it's like to be able to have the fights and stuff like that, they have to have those like walls around so you can portal everywhere. But it just made it look kind of generic.
Mm-hmm.
You know what kind of map they should have built? A cube.
A cube would be kind of wacky with the portals, I ain't gonna lie. The cube would be kind of wacky. It's
just a cube that, as instead of a ring going in, sections of it just drop off.
Oh, that'd be sick. That's it, and then just kind of went like, dwindle down the map, whatever.
Yeah.
That would actually be really sick.
It'd be hella confusing for the player.
It would, but it would be well. That's you're there for the chaos, brother. That's what we're there for, is the chaos. Another game that stood out to me is Out of Words. Like the stop motion game, that co-op game, that looks pretty cool.
That made me think of what was the game on PlayStation? Unravel.
Yeah,
made me think of the Unravel series.
Yeah, didn't they make a sequel?
Yeah, it was Unravel too.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, that's what I thought too. Was like, I couldn't remember the name, but when they started doing the gameplay, I'm like, that looks like that one game that got a sequel to like the red and the blue.
Yeah,
I couldn't remember what it was called, but no, Out of Words looks pretty cool. I mean, I really appreciate the games that have that kind of art style. Yeah. Like I'm very appreciative of that. So out of Words is one that stuck out to me.
So you also felt that boxing?
Unfortunately, yes, because it was just like, as soon as he started talking about puppets, I'm just like, God bless Jeff. Okay, well, what do we got? And they started showing it. I'm like, this is like unique enough where I appreciate how unique it looks. So yes, I'm probably gonna play it.
I'm gonna be honest. The people who were making that realized what they were making and fully went in with it.
Yeah.
And just the terms of dialogue dynamics.
Yes.
They understood it's ridiculous, so they just went full on in with it.
Yes. So I appreciate that. I appreciate creative and unique designing.
I just looked at it and I'm like, this is a weird Mike Tyson's Punch Out with puppets.
That's exactly what I thought too.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. That's actually 100% correct on that.
The sort of one that stood out for me that's just try once something comes out of it would be the Chronicles Medieval.
Okay, I was about to shout that one out too, because Chronicles Medieval actually looks kind of cool. Just a little snippet that we saw, just the approach of the army versus army. I'm like, okay, this is pretty sick.
Well, I'm more curious in just the terms of however you're able to develop your character, which leads to the armies, because of it's very much in that same vein. People are saying as a Mountain Blade. It feels like just from the trailer.
Right. Yeah, no, Chronicles of Medieval, that was one of the ones earlier in the show. That one also kind of stood out to me as well. Hey, shout out to Sonic Racing Crossworlds. Got a release date and guest characters. So shout out to that. And more guest characters are apparently coming. I saw a leak that apparently SpongeBob's in the game.
I was about to say, based on the ones that they showed us off, this is now Smash Brothers level pool of
basically.
It's just going to be anybody.
Yeah, basically. We got Miku, we got Ichiban and Joker, and then Minecraft is going to be in there. And like I said, I saw
Steve,
I saw leaks of SpongeBob also in the game. But also, I guess since you guys in our group chat, I beg your finest fuck. The collector's edition is like $250.
Does it at least look good?
Yeah, it looks fine. It's got a pretty cool statue that has Sonic and Shadow in their cars coming out of a portal racing, so that's cool. But I'm not spending $250. Cool, but I mean it's cool.
I mean, how big's the statue?
I don't think it had the dimensions. It's also limited run games as per normal, which I don't mind limited run, but I know a lot of people do because that means like you pre-order that, it comes out in September, you probably ain't getting that thing till next September.
Yeah.
So I do understand people's frustrations with that, but Fractured Blooms, that was one that I thought looked pretty cool. As well as John's favorite spooky games, End of Abyss. End of Abyss looked pretty sweet as well. That game looked pretty creepy. And
they showed too many spooky games.
there was a lot of spooky games.
Was that one
pretty
supposed to be creepy?
End of Abyss or Fractured Blooms?
End of Abyss.
Yeah. They're both basically like spooky games to some extent.
Okay, End of Abyss didn't really feel like that to me, but okay.
Yeah, no, they are. And then of course the end off being Resident Evil 9. So shout out to that. And man, shout out to Capcom for just like willingly blowing money to just troll people. That's 10 out of 10. Because it's one of those things, like the way that it's perceived in that moment, right?
Yeah.
It makes it sound like we're gonna show you at a later date.
Yes.
No, that cheeky motherfucker's just like, oh, just hold on a little bit longer. The trailer's at the end. Capcom be trolling, bro, and I'm here for it.
I did find it. They rehired Lady D's actual actress
Maggie, I think Maggie something.
just to do some recording stuff.
Yeah, I know, and just
to really poke it in. There's like, hey,
yep,
we got something, whether you believe us or not.
Yeah, just to troll everyone, because like, it's like literally, dude. You go on Twitter and everything. Everyone's response was, "Damn it, Capcom, you blue balled us." Like no one thought, "Oh, maybe it's still here. Maybe it's still here." Because it's like that did feel like a, "Hey, we're gonna show you at a later date. It's still cooking."
Yeah.
20 minutes later.
And with a pretty close release date too.
Yeah, I know, in February 27th. Honestly looked incredible. Like in terms of like just the graphical.
Cinematics, yes.
Oh my God.
We got no gameplay, so I can't say anything.
Yeah, from just the cinematics, man, it looked insane. The RE engine is crazy. As
long as we don't have to play Ethan, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of people's opinion. A lot of people are just hoping that Leon's going to be the secret main character of the game.
See, a lot of people's things I've seen in memes are just people like, Capcom talking to Leon. No, I'm not going back there.
We're not going back to Leon. No, I mean, RE9, RE Requiem, I mean, it did look pretty cool.
People are actually really hoping that Grace Girl is going to be the main character because she's actually, from what people have dug up, the child of a character from Resident Evil Chronicles, the games that don't usually get mentioned.
Yeah, it's like Resident Evil like Outbreak or something.
Yeah.
Is what her mom's from. So yeah, no, right now Grace is perceived as the main character, but a lot of like apparently like rumors and theories that Leon will be the actual main character. Or at least he'll be in the game. That is what everyone is kind of hoping for. But either way,
we all get cool. The rug pulled and it's Ethan again for the third time.
Right. Another Ethan game. So shout out to that. Everyone get ready for Ethan. Yeah, he's coming back once again. Let's see. Some other ones just to shout out is the new Game of Thrones game, War for Westeros. Let's see, and then on the list that I've got, I think the only other one, I think it was the last thing on the list that I have, because I've got all the showcase notes. So we kind of hit all the ones that I deemed like these are the big ones, right? Is there anything else from the showcase that really stood out? There's a lot of follow-ups.
I was gonna say we just briefly mentioned it as kind of a one-off, but Liza P. Overture got not only shown off again, but then shadow dropped, so it was available.
Right.
Which
because it's technically a DLC, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's a DLC.
Yeah,
it's a prequel DLC.
Mm-hmm.
Which is still wild with how much it changes the combat system from what it looks like.
Oh yeah, but I don't know that I don't think there's much else from the showcase.
Yeah.
All I
At
can
least
feel
for me.
A lot
all
of follow-ups.
All I can feel with Liza P is like, if that's the overture's a prequel to what led to Liza P, is like, how'd you forget to use all these other weapons, bro?
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
knocked out. You wake up on a train, remember?
I mean, I do know that. You're in like a chair, like you just got done being a druggie in a train car.
Yeah. Maybe it's all a dream, Zach.
Let's see. Going through the big
Did you ever
list.
finish Liza P?
No. It's downloaded on my Xbox to go back and play again because I didn't get very far the first time I played it, but I've wanted to go back and play it for a while.
Especially now that you're more into Souls games.
Yeah.
I don't want to go back to Liza P just because I really don't want to beat my head against all the like 4-phase bosses.
Well, yeah, I'll get to do it again,
Yeah.
or I'll get to do it for the first time now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm probably gonna. Well, I'll probably do that soon if there's not like anything big coming out.
Let's see. Just kind of shouting off some from the big list. Hey, shout out to Troy Baker, that guy's and everything. He's now confirmed for Mouse PI for Hire, which I still think that game looks really cool.
It does look good.
I'm looking forward to playing that. A couple more characters for Marvel Cosmic Invasion with Rocket and She-Hulk. Got another Onimusha trailer, the new one that is. So shout out to that. Killer In. That seemed kind of interesting. 24-player multiplayer game using social deduction skills. So.
That one's gonna be wild.
Yeah. Let's see. Playtest for Chrono Odyssey is later this month. Shout out to that for anyone who wants to check that out.
I did forget about that game.
Let's see. Nicktoons and the Dice of Destiny actually looked kind of fun. Very quick snippet of gameplay, but like with it being just Nicktoons, I can imagine it being kind of a grand old time.
One that's personally stood out for me was the Plague one. That was done by the Guacamelee developers.
Oh.
And Nobody Saves the World.
Mhm.
Because I love both those games, so I'm probably going to enjoy their third one.
Right. Deadpool VR. That made me mad.
I think everybody got mad
Yeah.
because of Keeley's comment.
Yeah. The
Yeah,
Silk
there's
Song.
Silk Song too.
Instead of showing the Silk Song trailer,
Yeah, it
show
shows-
this.
Like the fact that it's a VR game is, I think, what really kind of further drove that needle for that comment. Where
I've
it's just
seen
like,
a lot of comments about the line in the trailer too, where it's like, Insomniac or Spider-Man gets Insomniac, and I get this.
Yeah. That shout out. I imagine the game's gonna be fun, but it's a MetaQuest 3 game, exclusively on MetaQuest 3, by the way, so it's not even on PlayStation VR 2. So it's just all right. We're already setting that game up for failure, so that's cool. Let's see. Seven Deadly Sins Origins. Shout out to that, I guess. PlayStation exclusive. I saw the news on that earlier this week. That was a PS5 exclusive. Dying Light the Beast got a release date for that. August 22nd. Mixtape. We've seen that one, I think, one other time.
Yeah, the Game Awards.
Yeah, that's what it was. So we got another follow-up on that. Toa and the Guardians of the Sacred Tree coming out in September. First Senate Breakthrough. There you go, John. There you go. First Senate Breakthrough. There you go.
I don't play that anymore.
You can go back. It's your time.
No, I mean, you can go back and play it. I had plenty of time in that game.
Another look at Mind's Eye, which, like I told you guys in our chat, this game has such a weird launch. It's coming out here in a few days, and like leading up to the launch, because I did the the Metacritic prediction score for it. It just feels weird, where it's like the one of the lead developers or director, whatever, was saying that he thinks that people are gonna like pay off to give the game a bad review and shit like that. And there was a bunch of other like conversations about in a negative light with the game, and then all of a sudden now like the head creative director has now left whatever the studio's called, something can build a rocket. I don't remember what it's called. It's just a really weird launch because like the creative director, like I said, this is like the guy that I think led GTA 3, Vice, and San Andreas. So it's like, IO's publishing it, historical name, directing it. So it's like, this is like a big like GTA type experience game, and it's had a really weird build up to the launch. So just I don't know, something to look out for to see what's gonna like come in at this week in terms of scores and stuff. Mecha Break, that's coming out July 1st. Shout out to that. That game does actually look pretty cool.
I might check that game out.
Yeah. Other than that, I can't really see anything else worth, I guess, shouting out. I mean, it was like the pacing for the show was so meh.
I mean, the only other things I would shout out for me personally would be Wu Chang Fallen Feathers.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That looks like it'd be very fun. And then Last Flag seemed interesting to me.
Right, right. You also got some new Street Fighter characters too. So after that,
I don't play Street Fighter though.
No, okay. Well, never mind.
I mean, I keep up with it. I just don't play it.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's what I meant by a keep up standpoint. But overall, Summer Game Fest, I gave it like a 6 out of 10. 6 out of 10. That's me personally. That's me. It was a very the pacing was very odd for the show. Resident Evil does give it a lot of points. It's cool to finally see the new Resident Evil after so long rumored, with a release date at that, which that's great because it's like it's going to come out like just days before the month of its actual 30th. So big shot to that. But overall, just a very mid show. I don't know.